what you're seeing here is the Convert web-based centralized management dashboard. This is the data center management platform that your super user and your admins would use. And let me walk through the real estate a little bit so you kind of understand what's where. On the left side, we've got the on-premise hypervisors, and we've got a number of different hypervisors that are under management here. We've got 2 Hyper-V platforms. We've got 5 KVM, a VMware, and a Zen platform under management right here in terms of the on-premise hypervisor server pools we've got. We also have a vCenter cluster under management here. There is a set of template libraries that are associated with all of these server pools and are utilized. And again, we'll get into some of this stuff, but used to spin up virtual machines across these different hypervisors. There's another area here, infrastructure as a service section, which is where we manage all of the cloud infrastructure that is under management. So in this case, we have an Amazon Web Services account, a Eucalyptus deployment, and an OpenStack deployment under management in Convert. And then we've also got a set of virtual data centers. So virtual data centers is our name for self-service consoles, and this is basically how we delegate out capacity from this cloud infrastructure on a self-service basis out to end customers or business units or whatever. And these self-service consoles are kind of multi-tenant, isolated, and quota managed constructs that allow you to really just delegate and let people self-serve themselves. There's a few webinars that we've already done on some of this cloud and self-service infrastructure. So if you go back to our Convirture.com and check out the webinars, you can look at some of these on demand if you're interested in getting some more detail and color on that stuff. All right, but for now, let's go in and take a look more at what's in the data center. So if I click on any object on the left side here, we see some of the detail on the right related to it. So at the data center level, we see a summary of what's in our data center at this level. There's 7 server pools, there's 9 servers, over 20 virtual machines, a virtual machine density of 2.3. Again, as we noted, a number of different platforms. This overview screen also provides an at-a-glance view of some of the critical aspects that you're going to want to know about quickly about your data center. So, for example, here's the top 5 servers. Over time, we get some historical performance of the top 5 servers based on CPU or memory utilization. And again, this is a nice flexible capability. We can go back and pull out things at a different time frame or even a customized time frame to get the right analysis that we might want. And then if we scroll down a bit, we can see top 5 servers by CPU or memory, top 5 virtual machines by CPU or memory. So a great at-a-glance way to understand what's going on in the data center. The configuration tab provides a lot more information about some of the details: CPU count, memory, available storage, what are the networks. We can see what the host operating systems are. We can also see what all the guest operating systems are that are being used in the environment, as well as a view into the storage resources and virtual networks. And this is kind of a key visibility aspect when you're talking about the shared resources across server pools that are under management here. You can also get a tabular view of both the servers and the virtual machines in the environment. And this is a nice searchable, sortable view into the data center. So, for example, we can sort on host memory. We can search for a particular virtual machine by name. So it's a nice, easily usable and pretty quick and responsive UI into what's going on. The last tab here shows kind of the backup status. Again, this is an aspect that we're going to talk to in more detail in a couple of weeks, but it gives you a summary of what the backup policies are that are in place, what virtual machines don't have backup policies, if there are any failures that have occurred, what are the policies that we've implemented, and then kind of status of the backups over time. All right, so that's kind of just a view of things. Oh, and then down here at the bottom is the taskbar, and this provides a view into all of the background operations that are going on. So anytime we kick off an operation, you'll see it here. And so if we talk about kicking off an operation, let's take a look here maybe at the operations server pool. And again, you can drill down into deeper and deeper levels of detail here. So for example, we had been looking at the data center view. Now we're looking at the operations server pool view. And again, we get a similar summary view of the servers and virtual machines, the performance, the historical performance, configuration, what servers are being used, backup, all of that kind of stuff. And you can drill down to the host level, see similar information, and you can drill down to the virtual machine level and see similar kinds of information. There's overview, there's performance, there's virtual machine tasks here. One of the nice things is we track on a fairly detailed basis all of the operations taken on any host or virtual machine, so you've got an audit trail of what's occurred, who's done it, what's happened, and what the status is of that operation. And then the other side of it is, we kind of focused on the visibility, but the other side of it is that if you take a right click on any of these objects, what you get is a context-sensitive menu of all of the operations you can perform on that object. So this is the kind of the menu for a virtual machine, and you can edit settings, you can connect, you can migrate, start, stop, pause, reboot, shut down, create a template from this virtual machine, and we'll get into that in a second. You can back it up, you can run backup now, or you can wait for the scheduled backup, or you can remove it. So there's all sorts of operations, and you can see that at every level. Here's the host level. There's a number of things. We're going to get into some of the more advanced capabilities here. And then at the server pool level, there are server pool-wide operations that you're going to be able to take. And we're going to dig into this a little bit, too, as we move forward. But I just kind of wanted to walk through an overview of Convert as a tool and some of the general capabilities. So let's get into the story a little bit about how we might implement kind of a mission-critical, large-scale KVM deployment. One of the first things we're going to want to do is bring in our KVM hosts under management, and that's a fairly easy process here with Convert. So in this case, we'd just simply right-click on the data center level and add a server pool, right? And we'd select what kind of server pool we wanted to add. In this case, we'll add a KVM server pool, and we'll call this KVM demo. And boom, we've created the KVM. Oops, there we go. We've added the KVM demo server pool, right? And now the next step is let's bring in the hosts that we are going to have in that pool. And again, we just right-click on this, and as simple as clicking Add a Server. Again, we can choose KVM or Zen. We'll choose KVM. And then bringing in any given host is as easy as just plugging in its IP address, right? So I don't have any spare machines in there to bring in right now, but basically with a point and click, we're able to bring this stuff in without having to go out and install agents on the host and all of that messiness of this. Again, Convert has an agentless architecture, which makes it very easy to bring these things in. There's one aspect, another aspect of Convert that I kind of glossed over or forgot to mention, which is it's designed for a multi-administration environment, right? For a larger enterprise environment where we've got multiple administrators managing different sets of resources across the data center. So one of the things that's key about that is a role-based administration capability for user access. And so we can get in here and we can define different users that have different roles and privileges and access privileges and are parts of different groups that have different sets of privileges, right? So this is really an enterprise class role-based access control system, and the nice thing is to the extent that you have something existing in your enterprise, Convert will integrate with that very nicely using Active Directory or LDAP. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel when you're doing this stuff. Okay, so now we've gone and we've discovered some hosts and we brought them in under management. Let me go to this existing pool. I've kind of got a few things instrumented to help make this demo flow nicely. One of the things we can do is we want to let's provision a virtual machine or two. So there's a couple of ways to do it. We could actually provision it. Right click on the server pool, and we can provision a virtual machine here. But what I want to do is actually go and take a look at the template library, and let's provision something out of the template library. So let's take a look at the template library for a second, right? So, what this provides is a list, kind of a library of all the different virtual machine templates you might have in your environment. You can group them into different types, so there may be platform-specific sets of templates. And if you drill into any of them in particular, let's take the CentOS one. You can see a summary of the configuration variables and attributes for that template down to things like storage information and network information. So why don't we do this? Well, one other question. How do we get templates into this environment? There's a couple of different ways. Convert ships with a set of kind of default starter virtual machine ISOs. You can bring in third-party libraries of ISO images or OVF templates, or you can actually take your existing virtual machines and create templates out of those existing virtual machines. So there's a lot of ways to get, and it's very flexible to get templates into your library. So why don't we do this? Let's create a new template, and then we'll provision a virtual machine off of that. So we'll use this existing Linux CD installation, and we'll use this create-like function, which allows us to basically clone the template. All right, 1204 demo. We'll give this a name. Give this 1 second here. We can see. There we go. So now we've got a clone of the Linux CD installation ISO. Now let's go in and modify it. Let's edit the settings and set up some different things that we want to do with this particular template. So we've got template version, memory, CPU. It's a Linux template. But in this case, why don't we make this an Ubuntu template, and we'll use 12.04 as the OS version. Now, what we're going to do is the default template comes with 2 disks, but we're going to go in and we're going to modify this. So let's edit this. Instead of using a physical device, we will go and use an ISO file. So select that. I'm going to go and scroll through our library. Let me go find it. ISO, and we'll find one of our Ubuntu ISO images. We'll use the 1204, there we go, the 1204 server image. Boom. Now I could easily, just as easily done something like use a clone reference disk, right? So if we've created an image off of an existing virtual machine, we could use that as well. So there's a lot of ways to go. In this case, we'll use this Ubuntu image that we've got. In terms of networks, we can define a number of networks as part of the template. You can do that or not. In this case, this virtual machine is going to be part of a server pool and will inherit some of those network attributes. So we're going to leave the default right now that Convert provides. We can also set a whole bunch of advanced parameters in terms of boot parameters, some miscellaneous parameters, and you can create these as you need. We can set some backup parameters. We can set a quiescent script if we want. There's security credentials we can add, and there's specific template parameters that we can also set. So again, there's a lot of power and detail that you can build around your templates, but in this case, with just a couple of clicks, we've created and modified a template. So let me click that. We're going to rev the version, say yes to that. Okay, so now we've got this U1204 demo template, and what I want to do is provision a virtual machine off it. So let me right-click on that and select Provision, and what we get is a panel that asks us where we want to provision this virtual machine. And in this case, I could choose one of these 2 hosts in the operations group to provision it on, but I actually don't know which one of those has spare capacity. So what I'm going to do is just provision it on the server pool. And one of the powerful things about Convert is it will then look at the capacity and the different hosts in the server pool and intelligently place this virtual machine on the most appropriate host in the pool. So let me click OK. And what we get is we pop up another one of these wizards that will bring us through a configuration element. So basically it takes the template settings, and we can now go through and modify any of those template settings at the time we provision a specific virtual machine. So the template gives you the basics, and then you can go and customize it or tune it depending on what you want to do. So in this case, let's give this guy a name. We'll call it Demo 001. We can see we got memory, CPU. We won't change any of that stuff. In terms of storage, I think we've inherited this. We'll keep that. The networks will continue to use the default. So again, all of these look familiar. There's a couple of additional configuration elements that are added at the time you're provisioning a virtual machine off a template like this. One of the things we can do is set virtual machine priority. And this will tell Convert what the priority is of reinstating or restarting a virtual machine in the event of a failover. And we'll get to that. This is going to be more relevant as we get into the high availability aspect of things as well. So we'll say that this has got a medium priority. And there's another tab here called scheduling. And this allows us to set a time frame to have our virtual machine scheduled at a later time, and some other things happen with it. So let's walk through this a bit. We're going to provision this now, but we could have it provisioned at a later time if we want, so overnight if we like, whatever we may want to do. And we're going to have this start the virtual machine at the time of provisioning. We're not going to set it to reboot, but we are going to set this to retire or take it out of commission at a specific time. And this is great because it helps you avoid virtual machine sprawl. If you have the discipline to do this with all your virtual machines, you won't run into trouble of having orphan virtual machines out in your environment. In this case, let's select, we're going to have it harvested today. I'll clean it up. I don't want this to go past, let's say, 12:30, so that I don't have to go back and clean up after we're done with the demo. On retirement, we can set it to shut down or delete. I'm going to actually have it delete the whole thing, but I want a notification that this is going to happen. So I'm going to put my email address in here. Notify 1 day in advance, and I want to be notified every 2 hours. Okay, so now with just a couple of clicks, typing in a name and everything, we are now provisioning a virtual machine. And if we move up here, we can see down in the taskbar the operations are being tracked. But we can see now we've provisioned the virtual machine, and now it's starting up. Right. So again, this takes a lot of the manual labor out of spinning things up like this. So it's a pretty useful capability. And now we've got this demo started up. So now what else would I do? Let's connect and take a look at the console and see what we've got. Right. So great. So now we've got an Ubuntu server, and we can start the installation and get working on our stuff. Right. So that kind of takes you through one of the first stages of kind of some of the low-level automation and kind of usability capabilities that Convert provides. But what I want to take a look at next is let's start to move into some of the more advanced capabilities. So one of the other really powerful capabilities that underlies a lot of the automation that Convert provides is our live migration. And so what I want to do is take this CentOS virtual machine, and I want to move it from this ops02 server host and move it over to ops04. So let me do that. What I want to also do is show you what happens while that's going on. So I've got a session open to that virtual machine, and we're going to start to ping google.com. So we can see that the virtual machine is running and operational. And what I'm going to do is take and drag and drop it, and we'll see what happens to this ping as we move through it. So again, migrate. Let's click yes. Let me bring the ping back. So Convert is now taking and moving this, and the key thing is that we want to move this virtual machine without losing any connectivity or network connection. We want it to be live, right? So what we're seeing here down at the bottom is there's a task that's been started, and in 1 second we will see that the Convert will move this thing over. The nice thing is you can do this in background. If you've got users on a self-service basis, you can actually manage and move some of these things around to balance your loads yourself, and that will be transparent to end users. Okay, so now we've seen, so this virtual machine has now moved over to the other host. We have no interruption on the operations, and so we've kind of successfully live migrated that virtual machine. So why did we go through this? It's a nice feature. It's actually provides drag and drop makes it very easy to really manage and administer larger pools and deployments. But The other side of it is this underlies some of the more advanced automation features that we've got. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so so now I want to take, with that concept in mind of how live migration works, let's go and take a look at some of the stuff some of the more high value advanced automation. In this case, let's drill in and take a look at the high availability, the stuff that we've been talking about. So if we want to configure high availability by clicking it, again, we get a nice little wizard, and by basically checking a box, we can set up high availability and enable it. Right now, there are a number of different options that we want to configure as we do this, and we can choose. So let me walk through some of that stuff so you understand it. There's two basic approaches for high availability. One of them is that we can set up virtual machine failover so that if a virtual machine fails, we restart it on the same machine. And that's okay, but the higher value use case is when the virtual machine and the server fail, let's do something to restart those, okay? And that there are two ways that we could go about doing that. One of them is we can, in the event of a server failure, we can migrate all of the virtual machines from that server to other available servers in the pool. And then we can optionally decide to migrate those virtual machines back when the server comes back up. Alternatively, we can set up some standby servers to use that are dedicated so that in the event of a failure, the virtual machines will all be migrated to those specific standby servers that we've set off for availability. In the case of just migrating to other servers in the pool, Convert will move the virtual machines over to other hosts based on the capacity. All the virtual machines may not go to the same host servers, for example. So why don't we set up, we'll take this first policy and we'll set them to migrate back when the server comes up. Now the next part is setting up fencing. Now again, fencing is important because it eliminates the risk of having the same virtual machine running on two different hosts. And setting up fencing is a one-time activity where let's add a new fencing device. In this case, let's see here. There we go. There we go. Sorry. We'll add a power strip to this one. There we go, and it's this is on the 4th port, and what we wanted to do is reboot that host in the event that there is a failure detected, right? So what this means is that in the event that it appears that there is a failure of the server, we want to make sure we bounce the power so that we know that it's dead and we won't have a duplicate virtual machine running somewhere else, right? And we do the same thing here with the other host. There we go, power strip. There we go, port 3, and we will reboot that. Great. Okay, so now we've got our fencing set up, so we won't have duplicate virtual machines. There's a couple of other attributes we can set. Here we can actually go in and modify or set virtual machine priority. Again, we saw this when we set up the template and when we spun up that virtual machine. In this case, we can change things. Maybe we'll set demo 01 to be a critical machine, right? And so now it will be the first virtual machine that will be restarted at the time if there's a failover that happens. And the last piece, there's some advanced options, which is what's the wait interval between trying to restart virtual machines and how many times we're going to retry before we give up. But basically, with clicking a few buttons and setting a few parameters, we've now enabled high availability, right? And we haven't had to go in and set up heavyweight Linux clustering. We haven't gone and had to install things on the host. We haven't had to go and really mess with our environment. We've just gone ahead and been able to quickly and easily set this stuff up. Yeah. Now this is a lightweight kind of capability. This seems to be taking a bit of time here. Let's see. There we go. So again, it's lightweight, it's easy to use, it's point and click. It doesn't require this heavy Linux infrastructure, Linux clustering scaffolding in order to make this stuff work. Okay, so now that's it for high availability. That's in summary. Let me show you a couple of other quick things that take advantage of this live migration capability while we're on the topic. One of the other automation capabilities that is very useful here is, let me go, there we go. Let's take a look at All right. Let's take a look at configuring our dynamic workload management. Right, and this is basically policy-based workload management that allows you to either evenly distribute your virtual machines to ensure that no server is overutilized, or make sure that low utilization servers are consolidated and you shut down the host so that you can save power. So let's enable this and take a look at the even distribution policy. So what this says is distribute the load when the server CPU is above some ceiling level for some time frame, right? In this case, it says if it's above 80% for longer than 5 minutes, let's start to distribute some of the virtual machines to other servers in the pool, right? And maybe we can change this to 75%. But the nice thing about this is you can set a time frame or a schedule or a window for when this is going to be run, right? So in this case, there's a daily policy set up. Let's go and check out what that daily policy is. It says starting at 7 in the morning, let's run this policy for 9 hours. So basically what we've got is this load balancing policy runs during our peak business hours, and then it falls off after that. So because generally that's the pattern of utilization that we see in our environment. Now the other policy that we've got here is the power save policy, and this says basically make sure that low utilization servers are consolidated, right? So when server CPU is below 10% for longer than 5 minutes, then let's consolidate virtual machines off of that host, and then let's power down the host. So maybe we'll change this one to say that's a little bit of a low threshold. Let's say 15%, and then we can then start to consolidate and move virtual machines over, and we can set a schedule for this one as well, which is nice. So in this case, this is set up on a daily schedule, which runs starting at 8 o'clock at night and runs overnight. So again, when we know that there is low utilization, this is when we'd want to do the consolidation and power save, okay? And the nice thing about this is that it will, at the time the scheduled windows are finished for the power save, it'll spin back up all of your virtual machines in your server pool back to full capacity, right? So boom, we can save that, and we're all set. Now the one other thing I wanted to show you was what do we do if we need to take a server out of commission in this server pool, right? We don't want high availability or dynamic workload management to be trying to move virtual machines onto that server if we're doing work on it. We've taken it out of commission. We also may want to get some help in terms of just some automation in things we can do with it. So we can take a host and put it into maintenance mode. So let's take a look at what that means. By just clicking maintenance mode, we can mark this as being in maintenance mode, and there's a number of different modes of maintenance that we can put it under. We can set it up to be marked as in maintenance mode, and then we will manually work with it. Alternatively, we can take advantage of some of the automation capabilities of Convert, and we can have Convert shut down all virtual machines when we put it into maintenance mode. We can actually take a step further if we want, and we can have Convert migrate all of the virtual machines on that host to other servers in the pool, and then even optionally migrate them back when the server leaves maintenance mode. Or alternatively, similar to the way we've set up standby servers and high availability, we can have Convert migrate all the virtual servers to a specific server in the pool so that they all stay together, and optionally migrate them back when it leaves maintenance mode. So again, it's very easy with a click of a couple buttons. We're set up to do this stuff. Now, I don't want to actually put this into maintenance mode right now because this operations server pool is what we're using to run the demo environment. So it would shut down our whole demo if I did that. So I'm going to just close this out and not execute it. So the last thing I just wanted to show you is if you throw something into maintenance mode, the other thing you might want to do is let people know what's going on, right? So what we've got is another concept, annotations, right? And this allows you to associate a note with either a host or a virtual machine about what's going on, and that will send out an email notification to everyone else who is authorized to access that resource, okay? And they can also come and see it in the console, right? So, for example, hey, I'm putting this this server into maintenance mode, this host into maintenance mode to update the disk drive, and it'll be back online in an hour. Or you can keep a list of actions that need to be taken at the next maintenance interval, or whatever. You can use this. It's pretty flexible to use for whatever way you might want to use it. So, just another thing that makes enterprise grade management possible across larger deployments and mission-critical deployments. Okay. So we've gone through a lot of things. I kind of a little bit of a grab bag of some of the things, but I think that all of them are really provide automation and power to allow you to scale up your management capabilities.